Welcome to Sunrise Sunday. This is the place to activate remembrances of your multidimensional self to reveal a deeper layer of the sacred within. Each message is an energetic transmission that elevates energetic frequency and consciousness. Higher consciousness activates new knowledge and wisdom from a soul level, leading to a higher expression of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. The higher the frequency, the higher the expression of life, and our souls transcend into higher states of being. Sunrise Sunday is all about ascending you into this higher awareness. I'm your host and channel, Vidette Mayer. I'm stoked to have you here, and welcome to our sacred space. Let's get going. Welcome, sweet souls, to Sunrise Sunday. This is Vidette Mayer for this Sunday. I want to thank you for being here. I'm super stoked to be here. I'm getting clearer and clearer on what these episodes, what these weekly messages are becoming, and it's really become a process for me that has become extremely beautiful, because it is helping me to really sink into the awareness of what is really sacred. And how is that showing up in my own personal life, and how does that then reflect the energies of being an empath and intuitive? How then are the energies coming into our planet reflecting the things that are happening in our world, reflecting on the things that are happening in my own world, and bringing it all down to what is the most sacred thing that I find on a day-to-day basis. Because it's very easy to look out into the world and see a world in chaos, and things are burning, and floods and hurricanes and all the things that take our attention away from really the very thing that is the mystery of finding peace amongst all of the chaos around it. And that is our truly sacred self, the part of us, our souls, that are tuned into a higher relevance of being, a higher consciousness of being. We're plugged in, each of our souls are plugged into something so vast and so much greater than we can even wrap our human minds around, or it can even begin to wrap our minds around. And yet being a part of that sacred vastness is one of the most elementally beautiful and most obviously sacred things in this universe, is that each particle of dust is meant to be here because it is plugged into the greater whole, the greater being that is outside of anything that can be recognized by any consciousness until it is absorbed back into that whole. And to be one piece of that is an amazing honor. It is a sacred thing, because everything that is in existence is brought here as an intentional thought from the greater presence that we cannot understand. And at one point or another, that greater presence had a thought to create a being, a spark of its own dust. And we can put the name or the label of it as you. And yet you, as your most sacred consciousness, is beyond any kind of label, is beyond any kind of physical form. It is a multi-dimensional piece of existence that was birthed into this existence with just one thought of what is needed in this universe. And the solution, the answer to that very question by the source of it all was you. You were needed to come into existence and be here at this literal biblical time on the planet Earth to help as your true self, as your true sacred self, to help other human beings to navigate this world of chaos, and to remind them as well to come back to the most sacred piece of their existence, and that is to their sacred core. So every Sunday, it is becoming more and more of a blessing for me personally to deliver these messages, because quite frankly, I have to sit myself down and literally spend time and energy and beautiful, beautiful sacred communion with myself in order to bring these messages in. And as they come in, and as I see how everything connects from the message from last week into where we're going into the energies of this upcoming week, and how does that all tie into raising our awareness of our sacred, as I get to break down and deconstruct the messages from last week into the ones for this week that get to be delivered through my physical vessel, to deliver this message to each soul that is co-creating this message as I speak it into existence. You, your soul, knew at one point it was going to tune into this message, whether it is on time or whether it is years from now from a recording. No matter when it was heard in physical form, it was created in this energy, co-created in this energy of our collective consciousnesses, because at this moment there is a multidimensional version of every single soul co-creating this message that is needing to hear the answers, that is having a similar experience in a unique physical expression, and yet we all have the same questions. What's next? So what I know from last week is we were reminded in last week's message about paying attention in this past week of new remembrances, big remembrances that were coming in. And by remembrances, remember, we were talking about ideas that would be surfacing, more clarity around ideas, and to remember that the ideas are not some made up generation of your brain that is for you to go figure out how to co-create. Ideas, we have elevated them into remembrances of multidimensional parts of you that are in your cellular DNA that are being awakened, and there's remembrances of previous versions or future versions of you that already exist in the existence of these ideas that would bring you so much joy. As these remembrances came, you realized, we reminded you last week that these remembrances were actually parts of you that have already lived exactly what it is these remembrances bring to you. And when your heart lights up as you remember the pieces of you that you want to relive in this higher expression, at that point, your overflowing joy, remember, went into and flowed into the energy of that, flowed into your physical body, allowing cellular healing to happen, to occur in your body. And that cellular healing went into every cell of your body. That feeling of joy, the fuel, the energetic fuel that then pumps through your blood to every cell, is energized and activated with that joy that the remembrance sparked. And magical shifts were going to start happening in your physical world last week. So I want you, as we go through the message for this upcoming week, remember some of the things that happened this past week, so you can connect the dots and see how that energy continues to flow and how you can take advantage of that flow into this upcoming week, so that you are riding the waves of these beautiful energies. Massive, massive, high frequency light is coming into our planet, and it is being pumped in from the opposite side of our sun facing side of Earth. Most of our energies typically come from the sun, but if you heard me correctly. They're coming from behind. We are being helped. We are being helped by divine beings of light from all dimensionalities that are here to help and support us by giving us the energy of higher frequencies and higher vibrational frequencies coming in and giving us that cellular healing, which detoxifies our body of all of the physical toxins as well as all of the energetic and the etheric and the mental toxins as well. All of those, as joy pumps through your body, as these new remembrances start to light up, and they rise up into your consciousness, and your heart says, oh my gosh, I remember that, and I want that again. Your physical body then says, what's going on? This feels so good. All of these beautiful chemicals now, these healthy chemicals are going through my body, and my body's healing and my cells are healing. The body's excited now. It kind of got a little refresh. And as we go into this next week, we're going to start to see some of the manifestations of those remembrances and those overwhelming emotional, like those healthy emotional rushes that came in as you matched the idea and the feeling of that remembrance together. And now you are a magnet, an electromagnetic field to start pulling these things into your physical world. This is the week that's going to start that flow. So everything that you were remembering last week, the things you're becoming more and more clearer on, at this point, if you are listening to this message, you are most likely a starseed, a light worker. You are here to do some healing work in this world. And if you are listening to this message, that tells me as well that you have already done a lot of inner work, a lot of inner purging. You are at a higher frequency to be able to hear this message and to understand it. And at this point, you have cleared so much of the toxic density of previous traumas, previous emotional challenges, previous mental, emotional, all the old stuff. You have done a really great job at clearing a lot of that out. So what we are now kind of quote unquote left with are some pretty healthy bodies compared to where we have been in these past many years. You are at the healthiest you've ever been. Therefore, these remembrances from last week are the things now that are in your electromagnetic field. You have cleansed and purged of a lot of toxicity in a lot of different ways in the seen and unseen. Therefore, sweet soul, the work that you and I have done, that we have done collectively as a beautiful collective of light workers, has left us as clear and clean of vessels as we can possibly be. So what we are manifesting now moving forward is when we start to see the beauty of all of the work that we have been doing. So it's going to be an exciting week, and that is what needs to be remembered and where your awareness needs to be this coming week. Things are going to shift quickly. So what was a remembrance, or what was a clarity on a remembrance from last week, what was the unseen feeling of these remembrances, is now going to start to be coming into physical form. You're going to start seeing it be birthed. And that's going to come in different opportunities that all of a sudden pop up this week. I'm going to take a sip of my water, so take a deep breath. So these new opportunities now that are going to be showing and revealing themselves this week are of all different expressions. Because this is a general message, it depends on where you are, and you'll know what it means. It's kind of like the last thing that you had that you didn't want to look at for a long time, but you've done a ton of work, right? And you know, like, the work is painful, but you've gotten through a lot and you shed a lot, but you had that one thing, right? You had that one thing, and you finally got after it in these last few weeks, months. I don't know how long it's taken you, but all of a sudden it feels like you're on the other side of it. And there's a little bit of fear that maybe things, that there's something that's in your blind side that you can't see. You might be a little bit fearful that something might rear its ugly head again. This is the week that you know that the work that you've done has cleared you. So there's not that residue. So this, when fear pops up, it is immediately alchemized by your higher self, who is now more most likely at the forefront of who you are at this point. She has kind of taken the lead. The divine feminine has come into, especially this past week. This past week was the week that Mary Magdalene actually ascended in her time, in her space. She ascended into higher dimensions of being. So this past week was a very, very sacred week of the divine feminine rising into higher states of being. What is the divine feminine? It's the part of us that is intuitive, that is creative. That this past week was when you connected into that divine feminine, and the creative juices, the creative flow of remembrances started to come in, and that feminine started to feel the beauty and the honor and the joy and the presence of those remembrances and said yes to it. So coming off of that massively beautiful divine feminine week, this is the week now that the mass, I think I said feminine. I want to make sure that coming off of the energies of the divine feminine of last week, this is the week we kind of pivot back into more of a masculine expression. And this is when we are going to birth into, actually still, let's say it's still the divine expression of the feminine, because it is the full moon tomorrow actually. And the full moon is when the intention is revealed. So this week I think is going to feel fun. It's going to feel expansive. Where you have maybe felt at rock bottom, this is the week where you surrender to the alchemy. You've kind of done that's this past week with these clarities and these remembrances coming in, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, and everything got alchemized into, from rock bottom, oh my gosh, to the alchemy of the realization, the clarification, and the new evolution of new remembrances have come in at this point. So now you feel like you've transcended rock bottom and you are cracked wide open to see what is going to be revealed this week in my reality, and how is this new expression of this thing that I finally had the courage and the boldness to surrender to. How does it unfold and reveal itself and alchemize itself into a higher expression? This is going to be the week that kind of stuff starts to happen, and the higher learning, the higher wisdom of connecting dots starts to happen. You've been really, really aware over these last months, actually. I would say in 2021 is what I'm getting. These last few months, you've been very aware of how your awareness has been gaining higher and higher levels of perspective. So if you think back to who you were in January of this past year, you're probably going to laugh because you probably don't recognize that person. And yet, as you have grown through these months, you've been so aware of this process because you've been in it. You get what it's about. You know that you've got to sit in the pain. You know eventually you have to surrender to the pain. You know eventually you're going to transform it and alchemize it into something higher. And as you've been aware in that entire process, when you look at it from a higher learning, you can start to connect dots. You can see where your consciousness was. You can see how that manifested. You can see where that step took you. You can see where that choice, you've got hindsight now. So with that hindsight of this coming week, you are going to put that higher learning, that higher perspective now that you have to the test, because you know what you need to know to move forward, to manifest this thing, this opportunity, this next evolution of the area of your life that was this kind of like final big like, I'm gonna die underneath it, or I'm going to alchemize it. And this is the week that you get to alchemize it. Sweet soul, this is so, so beautiful. And I'm so happy to be doing this with you, because I too have been living the the pain of transformation. And I'm tired, and I have felt like I was at rock bottom for a couple of weeks. There have been days where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to survive this. But somehow the next message comes, and the next light worker shares what they're vulnerably going through. And I know that I'm not alone. And we come together in a co-creative consciousness as light workers. When some of us are down, there are the rest of us consciously that are up, that are keeping us up consciously. And that is what's so beautiful about this whole process, is we don't have to be physically together. We can be global, we can be multidimensional, and we can still have the same intention of bringing peace to this world and this humanity, and all of the worlds that exist in other dimensions that we are unaware of. What if we can just, as a co-creative consciousness, simply just say, bring peace and light to all souls? Isn't that bringing a little sacred? And when we do that as a collective, we actually create the energy waves of magnetism that create that frequency that people do feel, that sentient beings of all kinds feel. That's a beautiful power to have. And it's completely free. And all we have to do is sit where we are. Whether we're in our bedrooms, whether we're in our homes, whether we're on a beach, whether we're in our car, we can sit and powerfully empower this entire existence of humanity in all light forms and all dimensions with a higher consciousness, simply by invoking the feelings and the frequency of peace into our hearts and souls. And ask for that frequency to also be imbued into every living human and every living being and elemental being on this planet and in this universe. That's a pretty sacred power. So that power, that higher learning of all of your experiences in life, is going to be blowing your heart wide open, your emotional, beautiful soul heart. Honey, that thing's going to be wide open, pouring out, so vulnerable, but not this week because it's in pain and it's raw. It is so wide open because it has surrendered to the pain, that what now is going to pour forth from that open heart is the blessings and the beauty and the joy that comes when the blessings start to reveal themselves and you start to get validated. Not that you need the validations, but you start to, in your own egoic mind, you can finally say, yeah, you see, ego, that's what I was talking about. That's how we started doing it the other way. That's why you started to submit a little bit to the soul frequency. And now the ego has to be humbled as it watches and builds its own strength from watching the validation of things come into your life, into your physical life, that you've held in intention for what seems like forever. It may not be all completed, probably won't be all completed by the end of the week. However, you will know that the steps are unfolding because they will be obvious. And then these rare gifts, the tenderness of life starts to kind of become your reality. It's going to be that feeling of like, man, I'm afraid to trust this thing. Like, I'm afraid like things have started to get good before. And then the next thing that you had to clear or purge, or, some other form of toxic energy had to be cleared. But at one point, we've all had those moments where like, oh, I think I'm clear, but you kind of knew you weren't. You were just hoping things could stay hidden. But you have gotten into the point where you have rid yourself, you purged your beautiful energy selves of all of the toxic energies, And now these beautiful, tender moments are going to start coming where you just overflow, and it's going to feel like something so simple sends you into such gratitude and bliss. And there might be this some little ego like that still wants to poke and say, well, what if this goes away? Don't get too comfortable with this. That's when it is going to be humbled, because you have enough evidence now. You know that you are conscious that you have purged everything you had to purge. This is a beautiful week to trust the joy and trust the bliss that reveals itself in the smallest of ways and then compounds and multiplies from there. This is a beautifully abundant week. And I'm so honored to share this path with you, because it isn't the easy path. It isn't at all the easiest path. And I think all of us on it sometimes will kind of like give each other energetic fish bumps and be like, not fish bumps, fist bumps. And be like, yeah, sister, I see you. Brother, I see you. It's not an easy path, but it is such a beautiful one. Ascending into these higher frequencies by being conscious and working with the energetic flow of our planetary home, as well as the energetic home of our universal home. Why wouldn't we just look at these energies and work with them so that we make it easier on ourselves every single week in and week out? And we do that simply by first dialing in and only operating from the one true operating system that is uniquely meant for our individual expressions, and that is our souls. And when we operate so genuinely connected to soul, we can't not live a life beyond what our human mind could perceive from its limited perspective. It's only in rising to higher frequencies of being that we have the perspective to see all the possibilities. And from where you are, that skill set now, Sweet Soul, has you at a frequency where you will have several opportunities that unfold and reveal themselves, and it's going to be obvious, and you're not going to have to like pick through stuff and overanalyze and overthink things. When soul is in the lead, you feel it, you know it immediately, and it's a go. We have taken out the filters over this purging period. We have taken out the filters that would make our ego say, ooh, you better pay attention to that. Ooh, you might want to be afraid of that. Ooh, hold on a second. That, all those filters, all that has been removed. So what now speaks is soul. So you will not miss opportunities because it'll feel so obvious. Do not be afraid that you're missing anything. Do not be afraid that something's going to go away. Do not be afraid that you are alone. All of those feelings that could take you down are untrue. And that is when you, Sweet Soul, have to step up and humble that ego and tell it to shut it. Thank you. But now it's your turn to listen. And you put it in its place. It has a reason here and there. But for the most part, this is the time it's turn to quiet down. Humble itself, to sit back and watch what its other divine reflection brings. The soul reflection of the ego is now the voice. It is now the brain. Consciousness. It is now the consciousness that is coming to come back into balance with that ego, so that the two together walk a more balanced, beautiful, abundant path where you feel more at peace, more in joy, more in so much gratitude that you don't remember what it's like to live in a world where that is no longer the norm. How quickly it becomes normal to feel at peace. How quickly it becomes normal to feel overwhelming joy, how quickly it becomes normal to be in bliss of how your life is unfolding, how quickly it becomes normal to alchemize fear into opportunity. This is the week when all of that starts to become real obvious in your physical world. Take a deep breath on that. And now if you would, just simply close your eyes. We're going to anchor in this message into every particle of our beingness, every wave particle, every atom of every electron, every cell, every tissue, every organ, every particle within our physical, mental, emotional, etheric, and spiritual body, and mental body. All parts of us come into beautiful vibrational resonance, clearing out any dimensional or any denser energies, any lower dimensional beings of light that may have popped in or popped out. We ask them to leave, and we also ask to purge every part of our vibrational system that no longer resonates as at this higher frequency that we have called in today with these new remembrances and with these new energies that we are now aware of. And we take these new energies knowing that this week is going to be a week that accelerates us into our higher perspectives. It accelerates us into a shift beyond what we could have imagined for ourselves. This is the week that we start to realize the magic of intention, because we've held these intentions and we've done the work to bring our vibrational frequency up to resonate now with those intentions, and those intentions start quickly to come one by one, step by step into our physical existence, and we laugh and joke and we just scream with delight at how these beautiful synchronicities reveal themselves to us in a magical way, in such a sacred and divine way that only we, our individual selves, our individual souls, can recognize these beautiful synchronicities, because it will be as if your guides, your higher dimensional beings of light that are your team, are my team. It's as if they set these things right in front of you for you to find. And it's like a scavenger hunt of beautiful awareness to the next step, to the next opportunity, to the next answer, to the next solution, to the next manifestation, and then to the next realization of how powerful of a manifester you actually are, because you have watched it consciously, from intentional remembrance to intentional choice to intentional work to raise your frequency into the resonant vibration of the intention. And now look at you as if you are a creator and or a magician, and sweet soul, you are, I am. So from this place, I'm going to put my words into the I am presence. That is the I am presence of God, universe, nature, Muhammad, Allah, the divine gods, the company of light, whatever it is that you call that higher being. The I am presence is the highest of frequencies that resides deep, deep within the core of existence of who you are. And that I am presence is expanding, building, multiplying your present and current awareness into higher frequencies of remembrances. And from this place, you are safe in knowing that your life is expanding and unfolding. Your perceptions are expanding and unfolding into ways that you could not have even known a week ago. And your remembrances continue to download into every part of your being, into all bodies of who you are, all multi-dimensional parts of who you are. Download these frequencies of higher frequencies so that you can now start to see the next steps and the opportunities much clearer and through new eyes. All of these downloads happen within the next 24 to 48 hours. Allow yourself the time and the presence to be aware of how things are thinking, how you are thinking, how you are feeling. Be very aware of conversations. Be very aware of who you speak to. Be in the presence of the now moment, especially in these next few days and in this next week, because the synchronicities will occur. Your frequency will match. There will be a resonance. You will know. Things will move quickly. Release fear. Say yes to anything that brings joy and bliss to your heart. And remember how beautiful and how powerful you are. Remember how powerful your intentions are, because what you think about from here on out, you will create. What an amazing opportunity, what an amazing space to be in. And that is because you, sweet soul, have done the work. You have done the work to uncover that sacred soul within. Now that you are cracked wide open, that sacred soul spills out in this purest of light and the highest of frequency, so that your light then touches everyone you come in contact with, and they feel the sacred of who you are. They feel the sacred existence of you, and that higher learning of everything that you have learned along your way in all of your lifetimes and all of your existences comes together as light and knowledge for those that come into your existence. And from that place, your rare gifts offer tenderness and innocence of truth and love to all those you come in contact with. Once again, let me remind you what a powerful being you are. You are not only a powerful being of light, but you are also a powerful healer, because you have been at rock bottom probably more times than you wish you would have had to. And yet each one of those times at rock bottom have brought you into this version of you, here and now, clear and ready to be a beacon of light and ready to be a healer in whatever way you show up for yourself and for others. What an amazing week. Please come back to our comments and leave in the comments any experiences you'd like to share from last week's remembrances, what came up, how did you feel, and also tell us what's happening this week. Share with us some of your greatest nuggets that start to appear into your life, because I'm sure as we start doing this and people start to see more and more of the magic that we can create together as a co-creative community, that magic then spreads like wildfire of consciousness. And that's the kind of spread, that's the kind of wildfire of consciousness we can create simply by sharing our most beautiful manifestations. So please bring them back to this space and let us hear. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to sharing with you next week. Have a good one. Thanks for joining this week's Sunday Sunrise. If you've enjoyed your experience here, please don't forget to like and share this episode to help spread this important message for humanity. Also remember to leave a comment when this message has been received by your gentle soul. If you'd like to take this week's message further and sink down even deeper into its layers, join us in the U Quantum Collective, Sunday Sunrise, Integration Space, and Community. The U Quantum Collective is a gathering space for multidimensional souls dedicated to the daily devotion to Soul You. You will be nurtured in this space with daily wisdom, energetic transmissions, and events that enlighten your soul and elevate your frequency. This is a sacred collective that activates multidimensional you to co-create a lifestyle of true meaning, mission service, abundant health, and wealth in order to ascend into higher states of individual and collective consciousness. Thank you for being here, sweet soul. Your presence is more valuable than you know. Sacred you is always welcome here.